Thank you. Thank you, Master Reed, my mentor, Grandmaster Clark, and all of you that participating. As you notice, I have an accent, then you're going to have to pay attention a little bit more, all right? Then I don't have idea. My wife keeps telling me, what are you going to talk about? I say, well, I don't have idea what I'm going to talk about it then. But I did learn something from my father a long time ago when I was like 4 years old. I have brothers and sisters, and I asking a lot of questions all the time. How come? Why? How come? Why? And I annoy my brother and sister, and my father would say, let him to ask questions. That's the only way you become smart and know how to do it. Then later on, I used that more and more and more, and my father was my inspiration at that time. He repaired shoes for a living. We were 10 kids in Paraguay, and I don't try to impress you by telling my story, but we were poor. Not American poor, but we were poor, Paraguayan poor, which is Paraguay is the second Latino country with more poverty after Haiti. Then I didn't know I was poor until I came to the city, and I noticed that kids, they had shoes or they had electricity, and I go like, I went to my mother and I say, Ma, why we don't have electricity? Why we don't have, I don't know, floor? Why we don't have beds? We sleep all like 4 or 5 together in one little. And she say, because we are poor. And I say, I don't want to be poor. And she say, well, if you don't want to be poor, the only thing you need to do, and she was very religious. My mother was an orphan that grew up in a Catholic nun school, and she was very religious. She said, you need to believe in God. Second, she said, you need to honor your parents. Third, you need to study. And when she say honor your parents, it's like no choice, because my father was like really hard on us, all right, which I appreciate very much. Then study, I like to read, and then work. I said, oh, I can do all that. And I was 7 years old at that time. I started to do it, and I changed my life. And through those changes, I had the opportunity to come to America, and I fell in love with America. I eat my first at the machine in Miami. I have many stories about that, but we don't have the time to tell you that. But I eat the first, what is it, tortilla, not the chips, the potato chips. And I thought that was the greatest meal I ever had. Then I flew to Little Rock, Arkansas, and I eat in Captain D's. And I eat a fish sandwich and a crab, supposed to be a crab, kind of like, I thought that was the greatest. Everything I thought was the greatest. I thought Little Rock, Arkansas was the greatest. Until I was invited by Grandmaster Clark to come to visit in Jacksonville, and I fell in love with Master Clark. And literally, in many ways, he dressed exactly the way I want to be dressed. He drive the car exactly the way I want to be driving, and he lived the life that I want to live, always in America. And I thought Jacksonville was the greatest. Mrs. Clark was there. She didn't understand anything that I say in those days, but I knew that I need to be living the American dream, and I live in that now because of Grandmaster Clark, Mrs. Clark, and the support of the martial art community. Then saying that, I don't have much to offer to you, but if you want to ask me a question, because Albert Einstein, they asked him how come he's so smart, and they say, I'm not smarter than anybody else, I'm just more curious. Then we already know, you hear this quote that say that if a smart man is willing to be a fool for a minute, and the dumb one is fool for lifetime. If you ask questions, you can be a fool for a minute, and you know. Then I want to play that game today, whatever time you allow me to, but you can ask me as many questions from anything that you may thinking that I can offer to you. Yes, sir.
So a lot of times people want to know. It's easy to go and talk to someone who's successful and say, what did you do to become successful? That's kind of an easy way. Sometimes the more important question is, what would you say are one or two of the big mistakes that you've made over your long years in this? we've all made them, and sometimes learning where the pitfalls are is just as important as learning where the success is, right?
Then anything that I say, please don't take as a bragging, but I never had a mistake because it was always a process of learning. When you do something, you learn something. It's only a mistake when you don't learn anything from it. Is that right? But the easiest way not to make a mistake is that you find people that having the lifestyle that you want and emulate those people. And that process, then, yes, I emulate some people that later on I stop emulating because I grow into it. But I don't know if I can say this was a mistake. But I can tell you, for example, when I expanding my organization so quick or usually excited to spend, I open schools in areas in middle class communities. And the middle class community is great until the economy change. And when it's any recession, the middle class community, it's not like they don't want to do martial art, but they cannot afford it. Their mortgage is $1,200, $1,500 or $2,000. Then if I charge in $250 per month, that's 10% of their mortgage or their car payment. Then one of those mistakes I made was that I opened a school or I bought a school in Lakeland, Florida. You know, beautiful city, but they cannot afford then I have to sell it or close it. Melbourne, Florida, Palm Bay, Florida. I mean, small communities. Or even in Orlando and Castleberry. And the community, oh, it's good. It's $60,000, $80,000. They cannot afford it. That's if you want to know one of my mistakes, that would be one. Yeah.
Who else has one? Raise your hand. Here's your chance.
Yes, sir.
So, sir, how do you structure your business partnerships? How would you start, let's say someone, whether it's one of the people you're coaching or one of your students, how would you structure a location, maybe, from expanding? What type of partnership would it be? Would it be just you're the owner and they're running the school? I'm sure you've done all of it, right?
Yes. Let me see if I can understand your question then. I have different type of partnership that I go and people give me their school. They give me 51% of the school. I don't know if you know Jesse Elder. As you hear about him, he was one of the first partners that I had. That he has 2 schools operating in San Antonio, and he went to work with me. And I say, okay, how much you make per year? He told me how much you make. I say, okay, I'm gonna guarantee for you that plus 49% of the profit, but you need to give me 51%. Then why would people do that? Is because usually they missing some components, or they are just so tired of doing it over and over and over and not having a better result. Then that's one type of partnership. Another type of partnership, I just bought a school in San Diego, California, because I want to be in San Diego. Then I bought it, I bought the partnership, and I believe this couple that one of them worked for me before, they will be able to help me to expand in San Diego, no problem. Another way to do it, if I have a student that been with me and operate in a school with me for a long time, at least 3 years of profit, then they are allowed to buy 10% of that particular location. And then they do it really good, they buy another 10%, another up to 49%. Or we open, let's say, for example, we have one school with partnership, and he prepared another team, or she prepared another team, and now we're going to open in another school, and he or she is automatically allowed to be owner of that other school at the same percentage. Do I explain myself?
Yes.
Yes. And I had all those cases. I had cases from 10% to 49%, or in Vegas, for example, I know you guys, Master Chamber. She started one school with me, and then now we have 7 and the same concept. And now we open the A1 in Vegas, like that.
Awesome. And
Yeah.
when you're looking at a market to open, right, you said San Diego, is it just based on a gut feeling? What what are you looking at?
Let me just, and I'm gonna go out of the subject for a moment, but when everybody talk about success, and I will never claim that I'm not successful, because it's all relative and who you You know,
Associated.
I had a fantastic life. I had a fulfilling life. I loved my freedom overall. For me, success is the amount of freedom I had. Of course, financial help to enjoy more freedom, because the homeless guy also is free, you know. But anyway, we had instincts, which is like animals. We had intuition that some animals they also had, and then we had intellect. And when you connect those three, always, or you connect your body, your heart, and your mind, and your soul, you have better results. And I don't try to be esoteric here, but that's the way I believe it. I use it. Then sometimes you're right. I go places, I just feel this place is going to be great. But my intellect, I would check with my intellect, with the data. And those data to choose would be how many kids live in that area. And it's not just a distance of miles, is time of travel. Is more than, because time of travel is because this mother, especially the mother, they get so annoyed, but they need to take their kids every day at 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock, which is our main time, that, you know, and the main traffic. Then I need to study how is the traffic, what is the time travel, not the distance. The income and how many schools, elementary schools, especially they are in the area. There are many, there are private elementary schools, because you need to be where the fish are. And the fish are our kids that go to school. Does that answer your question?
Yep, thank you.
Okay, all right. Yes, sir.
Question, sir. When you're deciding a partnership, how do you evaluate the price of the partnership?
Yes.
Is that based on how much the school makes? How do you do that?
Yes. At the beginning, and I don't want to contradict the stuff that you guys just say, but I would, how can I say in a humble way? I would shoot myself if I need to wait for 2 or 3 years to make a profit in a business. Because that's not that maybe is acceptable in the martial art world, and somebody lied to us for so long that that's normal. But if you check Starbucks, they don't go like, okay, this is gonna be profit. I just saw, I own a land with some partner. We built a Starbucks coffee, and we sold it to them. And it's packed. I mean, and they projecting to, in the first 3 months, recuperate all the stuff that they invest or whatever. I mean, it's just like, we just make this thing like, 5 years or 7 years. I mean, I have a school in Las Vegas that I bought it for $50,000, and like 6 months later, I already profit $200,000 from it. Then the value of the business is you. Then if you know how to run and you follow, and you are my top director there, you create the value, and I say, okay, the value of the school is going to be $200,000. You can buy it for $20,000. But the value is because of you. Then I have schools, I don't want to, again, sound like I told Grandmaster Clark, I don't know how to say this to sound, because people say that I'm very arrogant. I don't know how to say that, but
Just say it, sir. Don't worry about us here. If
the-
people get hurt feelings, it's them.
the value usually have to be based on not how much you gross, is how much your margin is. And the value is margin, and we don't even talk about margin, but business is about margin. Business is only worth it about margin. People don't buy or say, I had this many students, this many square feet, this many employees. Those liabilities. All of those is liability. How many employees you had is a liability. We should never brag about how many employees we had. We should never brag about how big is our school. That's a big liability. You know how I know that? Because I pay the price for it. My schools, I trying to downsize it to 2,000 square feet. Because just thinking about it, you pay $40 per square feet, and if you have 2,500 square feet, and if you pay $40 per square feet, if you take 500, multiply 40 times 500, you save a lot of money. I have more than 40 schools. 500 times. Imagine how millions of dollars I saving and moving to a margin, to a profit margin. Again, I don't want to insult anybody here or anyone in the community, but we were misinformed and we were miseducated by people that they profiting with you. That's the reason they were motivating you to have bigger location and bigger thing, because they were starting to EFC. You remember EFC? They want you to. We had friends like Greg Silva. He opened a big school in Coral Spring, 1,200 students, 10,000 square feet. Never make a penny from it. But he want to impress everybody. That way everybody do the same thing. That way he can make a billing company. That way he take 10% of that money for them. It's all, we've been used in the martial art for so long. And the best way for us to stop that is we should stop listening to fellow martial artists. If you want to be good in something, get out of that thing. You know? If you want to be good on anything, you cannot continue stay in the same community. You need to get out of the community. That way we can look at the community and say, and that's what I did long time ago. That's the reason our Grandmaster Clark is so successful. He loved this community. I love the community, but that doesn't mean that I need to be hang out here and just listen to other fellows that they also suffer. Oh, me too, man. Oh, me too. That me too, no offense to the movement of me too, but the me too is what screw up our environment. We need to get out and say, how other people? Or people say, well, martial arts is very different. Bullshit. It's not different. It's business. It's you trying to find what do the people want, ask them, give it to them, and charge for it. What do the parents want for their kids? Discipline, respect, listening. That's what they want. Okay, I'm going to help you with that, and I charge you for it. That's simple it is. Oh, I want to learn self-defense? Okay, what kind of self-defense? Well, I want to feel more secure. Then that doesn't mean I'm going to go and training then to fight, because feeling more secure doesn't mean always fighting, is that right? Actually, sometimes that makes you more insecure. If I fight with somebody that's better than me, that makes me really insecure. Is that right? Then, anyway, do I answer your question?
Yes, sir.
I tend to get out of bring me back to the question if I do it right. I'm just passionate what I believe.